Good evening and welcome to Special Assignment. I'm your host, Ashraf Garda. Tonight we travel to Namibia, where we expose the country's controversial annual seal harvest. Our investigation found that the slaughter contributes little to the Namibian economy, except for creating a few low-paying jobs. The cull is carried out to reduce the seal population, which allegedly threatens the country's fish stocks. However, conservation groups sees the cull as a mass slaughter for trade purposes. A recent investigation by the Namibian Ombudsman endorsed the killings, but only if certain recommendations are adhered to. However, government stance is that the seals are a natural resource like any other that's being used in a sustainable manner, and the practice is here to stay. This investigation by Frank Farrell. And a word of warning, the program contains video footage that may offend sensitive viewers.
Cape Cross symbolizes the arrival of the first Europeans on the African continent. It is also home to thousands of Cape fur seals who've inhabited this colony for centuries.
We have an estimated 2.5 million seals along the coast of Namibia, and we only have 2.3 million people, so there's more seals in Namibia living than there's humans in Namibia.
It's a dangerous assumption that sees the annual slaughter of 80,000 baby seals and the shooting of 6,000 bulls. This is a quota which is endorsed by the government.
We are killing, but there's not so lot of blood. We are not killing about like some of them. We are killing with respect, clean it up all, and get back to the factory.
However, animal welfare organizations say the killings are inhumane and not sustainable. They've asked for a complete ban on the practice or a change to the methods used to slaughter these animals.
We're against the harvesting because of the manner in which it is done. It is cruel, it is inhumane, and it is not being monitored. It is not being... the animals' interests are not taken into account here. In the Ombudsman's own report, the people says that it's like cutting a slice of bread.
Meanwhile, animal rights activists are calling for an outright ban to the cruel practice. Wimdel is an impoverished township just outside Henties Bay, a popular fishing resort on Namibia's Skeleton Coast. Most of the people living in the township are unemployed, poor and destitute. Their misery is further aggravated by alcohol abuse, which is fueled by a number of backyard taverns that sell a cheap concoction of locally brewed beer. Drekkies and Pete are two young men living in the squalor.
I don't have a work. I am not working, but I'm just staying at home. This is not the home, it's a ghetto. This is my uncle's home, but there is nothing. The roof is not well.
Where's your uncle?
My uncle is working at the municipality of Henties Bay. But the municipality itself, as you see, the town itself is not developing and there is no enough work. That's why my brother or my friend is working at the factory.
The factory is the seal processing plant in Henties Bay. His friend Pete works as a sealer at the factory, which provides seasonal work for about 80 people. Pete starts his day early.
In the morning at the sea, we come at 6 o'clock. Sometimes there is no seal at the seal. We look it around, and driving around, and if we going to get it at the place, we know, yeah, we can beat it, but not there where the people going to see it. There we can beat it. We are going to beat there. Beat, and throw it at the lorry and come back to the factory.
Drekkies is completely opposed to what his friend does to earn a living. He too tried to work at the factory, but after seeing so many dead animals, he now prefers to remain jobless.
They are slaughtering the things. If they come bring them when they maybe beat them to death or shoot them to death, then they bring them with a lorry to the factory to slaughter them, then divide every meat under the bones.
He says it's morally wrong to kill an animal that is one of Namibia's biggest tourist attractions.
I just don't like it because I don't kill. I'm not a killer. I'm a driver. I'm a human being. I'm a being, and that thing is also a being. You cannot kill it. It's our attraction. We, as a coast, we are staying here. We can attract the tourists with that things, not to kill them. Killing that things are malady. I don't like it.
In the township, the drying of seal biltong is a common sight. The meat, which has a pungent smell, is seen as a delicacy for some around here. A study by the University of Stellenbosch found that the meat is safe for human consumption and also nutritious. The Minister of Fisheries, Bernard Issa, says the steak is delicious.
Yes, the steak is edible. Very nice steak, seal steak. I had tasted it as well. I had a nice.
Where can I eat it?
Go to Hendy's Bay and find out from the guys. They can prepare nice steak for you there.
Okay, so there's a restaurant where I can have it.
Well, in terms of restaurant, I was at a restaurant. I went to a private house where I had.
This man tried to sell us an incomplete sealskin belt for 100 rand. The skins are sold cheaply for export to be processed in Turkish factories. Furs are then fashioned into expensive garments, often paraded by supermodels on European catwalks, amid protests from animal rights activists. Seal penises are exported to Asia, believed to have aphrodisiac properties. But in Namibia, the seal hunt brings little revenue and creates only a few low-paying jobs. So why are so many seals being killed in such an inhumane manner?
If the seals populations are growing, we have also to harvest them to a number that is acceptable. We cannot just allow seals to grow out of proportion, and then it impacts on our fishing resources, because seals are also eating fish. So we have to ensure that at least there's a good balance.
However, scientific studies attribute the depleting fish stocks to overfishing by commercial fishing companies. Most Namibians we spoke to support the cull.
They cull because the population is exploding. They get too much, they eat all the fish, the bird life dies, the pelican dies, they die themselves, they get very thin and they die off. So it's culled to keep the population control, to keep our birds alive, to keep them alive, and keep all our tourism activities alive.
Unlike most young men in the township, Peter Geyser has a good-paying job working as a tour guide. The cold water of the Atlantic Ocean creates a natural ecosystem for a diversity of fish, birds and other marine species. One of the major attractions is the seals.
People like to see the seals. They like to see the seals that comes onto the boats. There's a lot of dolphins in our waters. We normally see them every day. Both types of dolphins, Panguela dolphin and also the bigger Atlantic bottlenose dolphin. People like to do this tour, mostly because of the seals and the seals that comes onto the boats.
Exports of seal products to EU member countries and America are banned. Namibia derives more revenue from seal watching than its annual seal harvests.
Coming up, we take you into Namibia's horrific killing field.
This is Cape Cross on Namibia's Skeleton Coast. It has the biggest colony of Cape fur seals in the world, which is a major tourist attraction to thousands of tourists who flock to this point annually to view these animals in their natural habitat. At this point we are undercover. It's illegal to film the seal colony, and if we get caught we could be arrested. We entered as tourists, our camera hidden from the authorities. After numerous complaints, the Ombudsman recently investigated Namibia's controversial seal harvests.
I went to Henty's Bay, where there is a factory which process the seals. And the owner assured me that every piece of the seal's body is being utilized. I observed only the killing of male seals, and they are killed by shooting. I would say you must have skills, because you have to leopard crawl. Is that the word? Leopard crawl on the beach to get as closely as possible to the seals, and there are usually a number of seals, and you have to pick out the male seals at a distance from sometimes more than 100 meters, and your shot must be fatal.
We use a subsonic bullet as to do the shooting noiseless, because any mechanical sort of noise have a high disturbance factor. We must shoot at close quarters. If you do shoot at long distances, you're not that accurate anymore.
This footage was filmed towards the end of the culling season, which ends in mid-November. After carefully analyzing these pictures, we noticed a disturbing fact. There are very few baby seals left, and most male seals have been wiped out. All that's left are pregnant female seals who will give birth this December. Pete takes us through the slaughter.
We are killing, but there's not so lot of blood. We are not killing about like some of them. We are killing with respect, clean it up all, and get back to the factory.
When you hit one of these animals, what do they do?
He start to run, but we are stopping for the seal to make it like a bug to go to the other side. Then we can go and kill it. But we are running, they are running. If we beat it, finish them, then he's die, we are up. Get it, yeah, with a knife. Not a big one, let the blood come out, only to make it whole.
After the slaughter, the seal reserve is open to paying tourists, oblivious of the killings that took place. The seal carcasses are then transported along this bumpy road 60 kilometers away to the factory in Henties Bay. It's a dangerous stretch of road with a number of crosses along the roadside, marking the many road deaths. For Pitt, the killing of baby seals is just a job.
The many people are saying we are the killers, but we cannot respond to someone. Must not be quiet because it's your job.
Animal welfare organizations are appalled by the gruesome manner in which seals are slaughtered. Cape Town attorney Peter Edwards represented the World Society for the Protection of Animals and others who want to see an end to the practice.
The Namibian seal harvest has been ongoing for a long time now, and there's been a lot of controversy surrounding it. The two main issues for most of the complainants is the animal welfare aspect and whether or not the seals are being killed humanely or inhumanely, and then also the sustainability of the harvest.
Meanwhile, the Ombudsman's findings, which are contained in his final report, says the only humane killing of baby seals is by a blow to the head.
What I have established and discovered through my investigation, this complaint, that the strike by a club on the head of a baby, a pup, is the most humane way of killing. I've spoke with the sealers. In the beginning for themselves it was not nice. As one, he expressed himself and said it was not nice. But after the third, fourth time, it was like any killing. And he put it like slaughtering a sheep.
But animal welfare organizations say most of these animals are still alive after the first blow.
You're seeing the guys rounding the pups up. You then see them starting hitting these animals with quite a few blows to one animal. And you'll also see that at one stage a guy steps onto a pup and the animal is still alive, and then he has to give it a second or third blow. There's no inspector, there's no one sticking them, and they just left to die.
Attorney Peter Edwards also argued that the seal harvests are being carried out in direct violation of the Animal Protection Act, to which Namibia subscribes.
We've got the same legislation in South Africa, and what he was referring to is the definition of wild animals in terms of that act. Wild animals is defined as animals which are either under control of someone or in captivity, but they can still be wild animals. But any cruelty to those animals are still going to be prosecuted under that act.
However, the Ombudsman says seals are not animals.
I look at the act itself and the manner in which the seals are killed. I came to the conclusion that seals are not animals, or seals does not fall under the definition of animals in the act.
So excuse my ignorance.
Yes, but what I mean to that a dog, for purposes of the definition, is an animal, and you should not treat a dog. There are wild animals. They said wild animals too, but wild animals under the control of a person.
But this must surely be his interpretation of the act, because the sealers, as seen here, are in full control of the seals as they slaughter them.
I'm of the opinion, as an animal welfare inspector who's trained under the Animals Protection Act and authorised across South Africa as an animal welfare officer, that the Namibians that partake in this is in contravention of the Animals Protection Act, which is their own legislation.
But there's more. Up next, we expose the exploitation of seals in Hout Bay in Cape Town.
Enjoy your day. Have a nice day.
Hout Bay, Cape Town is a colourful fishing village which attracts thousands of tourists from all over the globe. Until recently, there were 4 boat companies taking tourists to Dacre Island, where seals are watched in the wild. Here, the practice of seal culling was halted in the 90s.
I know in 1990, 1991, the South African government decided to halt all seal culling.
What was the reasoning?
As far as my knowledge goes, it was more nature conservation orientated rather than welfare orientated. But I also think that the market for these animals wasn't there.
However, the so-called conservation of seals is creating a huge problem in the harbour. Animal rights activist Fransha Hugo is Hout Bay's self-styled seal saviour. Despite having no permit or any qualifications in conservation, he operates a seal rehabilitation centre just off the ice factory in the harbour.
The problem we have in Hout Bay is he is creating a feed source for the seals in that harbour. Therefore, he's also rearing pups, which domesticates those animals over a period of time. And it is right in the middle of a fishing community where the animals then come to the boats and they get shot, beaten, and mutilated by fishermen to get them away from the fish resources.
These seals have now landed in the hands of unscrupulous handlers. They are hand-fed and solely dependent on their masters, who generate an income from them when they perform for tourists. Hugo cancelled an arranged interview with Special Assignment when we asked about his operations. He was also nowhere to be found when we went looking for him here at his makeshift sanctuary.
Why have you not taken action against seal alerts?
We do not have the authority when it comes to domesticating wild animals. It is a government issue that needs to be taken up by the nature conservation authorities.
Meanwhile, back in Namibia, after complaints from conservation groups, the Ombudsman has now proposed a series of recommendations that will hopefully ensure a more humane killing of seals.
I recommend that the seals should be herded into an enclosure, a boma, and then allowed to escape or allow them out of the boma and then hit them. Okay. Not in great numbers, one by one, one by one.
The principle of settling the animals down and making sure that their stress levels are reduced and that the killing can take place as humanely as possible with a sudden blow to the head and the quick bleeding out and proper monitoring. That's what the regulations should bring about.
However, the Minister of Fisheries says the Ombudsman's recommendations are still under discussion and it's not certain whether they'll be implemented. He says he will not be prescribed to and challenged anyone to come up with a better method to cull seals.
Well, if they have another way of harvesting seals, they should come with proposals to us and tell us this is maybe a way of harvesting these specific animals. We know presently the method that we are using is a method that is acceptable. There's no other method.
Animal welfare groups are not necessarily opposed to the cull, but want to see it being done in a more transparent and humane manner.
The manner in which these animals are currently killed is cruel, inhumane. And if his recommendations were to be implemented, it will have to be monitored by an independent animal welfare person to say that that one blow stuns the animal and that one cut bleeds the animal out, so that the animal don't feel any pain.
Namibia has 26 seal colonies. Harvests are done in 3. Seals are listed under Appendix 2 on the CITES Endangered Species list, which includes species not necessarily threatened with extinction, but in which trade must be controlled. An aerial survey conducted by the Benguela Current Commission established that there are approximately 1.2 million seals in Namibia.
You as the Ombudsman, what powers do you have to stop this mass slaughter?
No, it's not a mass slaughter. You must understand, it's a harvest, like any other harvest. Namibia harvests wild animals. Like any other. When we have too many elephants, what do you think? If there is not if the balance is not kept, then oryx, kudu, there must be a balance must be kept. And what we call is a sustainable utilization of our resources. And that is what the Namibian government of the Ministry and Fishery in particular is done.
Animal welfare organizations have warned that if sweeping changes are not brought about to Namibia's annual seal harvests, they will call for an international tourism boycott. After mining, tourism is the biggest revenue generator, which if enforced could have an adverse effect on the country's economy.
So the question is, should Namibia's annual seal cull be stopped, or should it be allowed to continue if more humane methods are implemented to slaughter these animals? Well, tweet your views using the hashtag special assignment. You can also post your comments on our Facebook page or email us. And then join me on Friday at 2:30 p.m. when I take the story further on my SAFM radio show. Finally, I've picked out 2 comments on the many received on last week's show on Satanism. Khomotso Mashike tweeted, "Freedom of religion extends to all, even Satanists. That is democracy." And on Facebook, Francesco Fumarola wrote, "We as the occult community may seem on the defensive, but in general, anti-occult sentiment seems to be growing, and we are experiencing a growing sense of unease." That's it for tonight. Join us again next week when we point out the issues that